Okay, welcome to today's class, everybody. And as usual, my name is Victor Peter Ukop. Today we are going to talk about CRUD operations with MongoDB. Then we're also going to talk about password hashing, the difference between password hashing and encryption. Then we'll look at introduction to authentication. What is authentication? How we can work with it, right? There are different schemes for authentication, right? So this is what we are going to exhaust in this class. We would talk about what CRUD is, then CRUD with just an array, right, as a database. Then we are going to look at how we can use CRUD with, or how we can perform CRUD operations with MongoDB, right? Then the difference between hashing and encryption, of course, I mentioned that. Then we would look at a library called bcrypt. Bcrypt is what is used for mainly hashing and comparing passwords. Then we'll look at introduction to authentication, right? I already talked about that. And then working with JWT. Okay, so let's start. What are CRUD operations, right? So as an API developer, you're going to write interfaces, right? APIs that are going to accept information from the user, right? And most times, what you're going to do would fall under this acronym called CRUD. Okay, and some people would say they don't know the meaning of CRUD. If you're new, if you have not heard of that acronym before, CRUD just means create, read, update, and delete. So create, that's to put in data, right, that doesn't exist already. Read, that's to return a data that already exists. Updates, to change the property of a data, right, that already exists. And then delete is to remove a data, right, or a record that already exists, or a document that already exists, right? Okay, then CRUD operations with array database, we will do that. Then let's just talk about the difference between hashing and encryption, right? So when you hash something, right, you can always should I say unhash? Sorry, when you encrypt something, you can always like take it back to its plain form, right? So when you encrypt a piece of information, what you get at the other side is the encrypted form of that information, right? And then when you decrypt that information, you get the plain information back. So there are different libraries you can use to encrypt, and there are different algorithms you can use to encrypt, okay? Then we can use JWT, right, to do the encryption, encoding and decoding, or encryption and decryption of data. There's also a library called crypto, which you can use to encrypt and decrypt data. Okay. Then the major library, right, or one of the popular library used for hashing is bcrypt. Now, when you hash a data, right, you can't unhash that data. In fact, if you unhash that data, it means the hashing algorithm is not strong enough or is not secure enough, right? So what is hashing? Hashing is just simply converting a data, right, to another form, right? But that form now, right, you can't convert the data back to how it was, like it's plain text. What you can only do after hashing is you can compare what the user is sending with the result of the hash to know if they are the same, right? And that is what your program is going to do, or the library bcrypt is going to do. After hashing, the comparison goes on with bcrypt, and bcrypt will decide if the data you're sending is the same with what was hashed before. Okay, then authentication. What's authentication? Authentication is just simply you proving to a system, right? My is Precious, for example. So what is the proof? Do you have any documents to back that up that that's your name? Of course, you have birth certificates and other things to use to back up some kind of detail uh to prove who you are, right? So that's encryption and that's authentication, sorry. Then working with JWT. Now, JWT is just a library or a package just like bcrypt, right? But JWT helps you to encode and decode data, or let's just say encrypt and decrypt data. And what is this data, right? This data could be the information of a user, right? So this is how authentication works. Let's say you visit the website and you're logging in on that website, you put in you supply your username and your password and you click login. The back end gets the username and password and does the comparison to check, oh, is this username correct? Okay, the user with this username, is the password correct? If the password is correct, what happens at that moment when everything goes well? If depending on the authentication strategy, right, for the backend, let's say the backend is in a bearer strategy, right? What is going to be sent back to the front end is going to be a token, right? So that token is just an encrypted version of the user's information, right? So it's just like saying if you're trying to log in, right? As you're trying to log in, on an API, the API can send you back something like an ID card, but the ID card is not a physical ID card. It can just be gibberish, just maybe some form of long, weird set of characters for you to save, right? And then after logging in, right, any other subsequent request you want to make to a secured route, right? So for that secure route to know that you are the person that's making that request, you need to send in that that token that you saved. If not, it won't allow you access to use that particular route or that particular feature on the API. Okay, so I've been talking since. Does anybody have any question based on what I've said so far? Any question? I hope we are all good. Nobody saying anything. So I'll just assume that good, right? Okay, so let's go
Yeah,
to
we are good.
let's go back to VS Code and let's start uh building or practicing the CRUD operations that we've talked about. Okay, so this was the last thing we did in our class, right? So I'll just, well, let me just remove these two endpoints, right? Let me just remove these two.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes,
I have a question. For your students, that this server.use, this second one after the server.use express, you are this one. Yeah. Is it what's the importance of that one?
okay,
Is it
it's
necessary?
okay. So this is the thing. Why you can do without this, right? I just wrote this on my own, right? But there's a reason why I'm writing this. Now, you might want to log out the information of a request that's sent to you from a client. Okay, so let's take, for example, or for instance, you wrote an API and then you're testing it with Postman. So if you send a request, how do you want to know if that request came into, or that request was captured by the server, right? So, or how would you want to know if the route was found or not found, or all those kind of things like that? So this middleware, right, is not, should I say, mandatory for you to have it, right? But it's good to have it just for you to use to get logs of what is happening on your database, to get logs on what is happening on your API or your backend, to gather logs. So without this, right, if I make a request to this server, when the server is up, it won't log out that, okay, a GET request has been sent to so and so route and all the stuff like that with it. It's a post request, right? So if there is an issue with the kind of request I'm sending and all those stuff like that, it might be a bit difficult to trace. So that's the reason for me putting this line, right? And if you don't want to use this, there is a library. So I think we should go over to npmjs.com. I'll share my screen very soon. I'm already there, so let me just share my screen. So there's a library called Morgan. I think it's Morgan. So if you don't want to, so if you don't want to, if you don't want to write your logger, right, manually, right, you can actually use Morgan. Morgan is a good logger. So a logger just shows you the log of your message, right, or whatever is happening. Okay, so these are different ways they said you can use it combined. They are different. Okay, so you can actually go through this documentation to see what you want to actually return. You can decide to return maybe a few sets of logs, right? Or you can decide to return a whole lot of things, depending on what you want here. So here you can decide that you want to get the token.method, token.url, and all this stuff. Token dots, the content length, and all those things. You can decide on what you want using Morgan. Okay, so it's totally up to you, whatever I want to use this to do. So if, for example, I want to use Morgan, what I'll just do is I'll say npm install Morgan. So let's go back to VS Code. I could just use Morgan. I would say npm install Morgan, and then when Morgan is installed, I'll just say const logger, or whatever I want to call it. I could still call it Morgan, but it's logger that people usually call it. So that's popularly called. So I'll just go with that. So I'll say Morgan, and then simply here I'll just say that I want the logger, but I have different options. So if you go to the documentation, you would see different, okay, for example, this one should create a new Morgan middleware using the given format and options. So this one I have to pass in a format and option. Okay, okay, okay. Morgan gives what do they call it? Okay, it gives log, right, based on whichever option you pass to it. So these are the list of options: tiny, def, common. So you can even test each of these. Maybe I should just create, I just say server dot get, I'll just say to forward slash reqres request response. I could just say res dot send, sorry, I'll just send hello. That's just what I would want to send. Then if I run this, if I say npm run dev, I'm sure that's what I used. Okay, so server is up. I can send a request. So I can send a get request, right? Just delete all this. I'll send a get request to, so we get hello here, but if you look down here, what do you see? You see that it shows us the request method, right? Which is get. It shows us the route, which is just forward slash, which is like the home, right? Or roots. Then we see 200, which is the response for our request, the response status code, right? Then we see how long that request took to process, 4.724 milliseconds, right? Then I'm not sure about what that 5 actually means. Not really sure of this. So if I change this to, if I change, sorry, let me come back here and change this to combined to show you something different. So I choose combined now. Let me yeah, I wanted to confirm that. So if I choose combine now and I click send, you'd see something totally different. FFF 127.0.0.1. We see the date, right? 18th of June 2024 at 3:30, a bit 2:30, sorry. Get to with the HTTP version, status code, the number 5, and the who actually sent the request. So this one is even a longer version, but then I'll just stick with the short version, right? I don't really need all this information, maybe unless I want to be saving the logs, right? Or something like that. I might want to be saving the logs also, but I don't want to save those logs, so I'll just, or do anything with it. I just want to see it, so I'll just say dev there. Okay. Now, even another thing you notice is I'm always crashing the server, right? Each time I make a change, I crash the server, because if I make a change without crashing the server, maybe I say hello people, I've not crashed the server. If I try to send that request, we'll still get back hello, not hello people, right? Because the server now is not listening to any change we are making. So it's just there. It's not listening to any change, right? Now let's change that today. So we are going to install a package called NodeMon, or some people pronounce it as NodeMon, but it's NodeMon. So we would say npm install. Now you have to save this dependency as a development dependency, and I'll explain why. Save dev, and then I'll say NodeMon. And I'll explain why I'm using save dev. Okay. So if we finish installing that, we come back here. Where is it? If we come back to our package.json and we scroll down, you would see that we have dependencies, right, which are Express and Morgan, and we have dev dependencies. Now, dev dependencies are dependencies that are going to be loaded, right, if your environment type is a development environment, right? So NodeMon is not really needed if you're going to push your code online, right? If you're going to push your code online, your code should not be your API, right, shouldn't be listening for changes, because nobody is going to be actively working to change anything on the API, right? So you don't need NodeMon online. That's why it's a dev dependency. So this dev dependency, once I'm trying to deploy this to production, it is not going to install, it's going to skip installing the dev dependencies because we don't really need them. Now I've installed NodeMon. All I need to do is I need to just come and change my my script to run the index.js. Instead of writing node index.js, right? I just need to change this to NodeMon and then index.js. So if I run this code again, npm run dev, and I press enter, you'll notice something a bit or slightly different, right? So we have class folder, which is the folder we are running our code from, right? Okay, sorry, class folder, which is the name of the package, right? And then the version, right? Looks more like an email, right? Somehow, okay? Then the command we used, which is dev. And of course, that command runs nodemon index.js. Okay, then we see some other information. The version of nodemon, to restart at any time, you just write rs and the server is going to restart. The watch part is dot. So dot is this root directory. So we are watching for any change in this root directory, and we are watching for the extensions .js, .mjs, .cjs, and .json. So of course we have .js here, right? And we have .json here. So if I install any package or I edit any file, right, the server is going to restart, of course, starting at node index.js. So if I want to restart my server at any time, I just come to the terminal and I just need to type rs and press enter. So I've restarted my server. And if I come to edit anything, let's just say I put extra space, see what is going to happen. The server just restarted due to changes. Okay, so now I can edit anything here without crashing my server, and I know that my server is going to notice that change that just occurred. Okay, is that okay? Does anybody have any question based on like what we've done so far? All right, so I don't think there's any question. So what I'll do now is I'll just
Hello,
say,
sir.
okay, ask your question.
Yes, so with NodeMon, we don't need to crash and we don't need to restart. So it updates automatically. Is that what I heard?
Yes. So yes, exactly. So NodeMon like, listens to changes you make on your Express code, right? It listens to any change. So if there's any change on any of the folders you're working with, right, NodeMon is going to notice that change and restart the server automatically for you. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's start with our CRUD operation. So I want to create
Hello, sir.
cards. Okay, ask.
So, sorry, I want to help me with the difference between this Morgan and NodeMon because I'm lost from the
Okay,
Morgan.
okay. So Morgan is used to log out details of a request or a response, right? So remember that when you make, let's take for example, okay, see, this is what I mean. Let me remove that line, right? Let me make a request. Did you notice that there was no information about what happened to that request? Nothing was printed out here that, oh, I sent a GET request to this route, and this was the status code or the response status code and all those stuff. There was nothing printed. It was as if I didn't make any request, right? But they are, I can make this request like 100 times, right? Nothing is going to be printed out here. That's because there is no middleware that is handling anything that has to do with printing out the request and or information about the request or response, right? So what I simply did here, right? What I simply did here is I'm using Morgan. Now, Morgan, right, is a tool that enables right, or enables you as a developer to print out logs, right? Logs in the sense that to print out information about requests or response that hit your server or hit your API. So if I want to track whatever response, a request and response is going on, right? I can either write my own logger, right? Which of course you saw me do before, or I can just use a simple library called Morgan to do it. So let me move the comment on that line and let me make the request again for you to see. If I make a request, look at what happens. Something is printed for me to know that, oh, okay, a request actually came in, okay? If I make another request, you see, it's printing out some meaningful information about that request that came in, right? The method, the routes, or the paths that method was sent to, the response code, the time, and all the stuff like. So it makes sense for me to use something like this, right? Because I might want to track what is going on. Oh, how many, or maybe what kind of request is coming in and all the stuff like that to my API. Or if I'm testing it, I want to be sure that the request I made, right, or the request I'm sending to this my API while testing actually went through. Does it now make sense? But now, that is the work of Morgan, right? Now, NodeMon listens to change. NodeMon's duty is different. NodeMon listens to change. So remember that before, if I make any change, I have to come and crash the server and start it again, right? Before that change would reflect. But since I'm using NodeMon, right? Once I make any change, right, on this project, on this package, NodeMon automatically notices that change and restarts the server ASAP for me. Does it now make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So is there any other question? Okay, so in the absence of any other question,
What if we're using a post request? Will this still give us a response?
Of course, if we change this to a post request and I send it, right, you'll see, okay, we are making a GET request, so I'll need to change this to post. And if I make that request, definitely it will change to post. Can you see that?
How do we now do it that it returns those information like it was before?
You see, how do we what?
That it will return the request body.
Okay, to return the request body. See it here. Is this what you're asking about?
No, there was an example you used the other in last class. That you have to return the content type, request body.
Okay, okay. Okay. Yeah, that was when I wrote, right, my own logger, my own custom
Yes.
logger, right? But in
Yeah.
this case, I'm not using a custom logger, right? I'm using what I'm using Morgan, right? And I'm using the dev option for Morgan, and the dev option has just this few. I could change this to, let me say, not shorts. Let me use common and let me make that request again. It's going to be a bit different. Okay, so common one, I think this should be common FFF1700.1, the date, and then some other information. But we could use this and we are fine. But I think I like the dev one more, so I'm going to use that instead. Okay. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's see how we can, I'll use this as my database, right? Let's just say, okay, let me, instead of calling this cart, I should just call it products, right? Products. So an array of products. I want to do like CRUD operation with this product, right? So I should be able to add products to this array. I should be able to get a list of products. I should be able to delete products and the rest. So let me create a route to add products, right? But let me create a route to first get the product. So I'll just say products. So products gets all the products. Now, this is CRUD operation we are doing now, but I'm doing the CRUD operations without a database, now, right? Okay, so I'll simply just return products here. Just return products that way. And if we test, right? Sorry, this is a post request. I'm supposed to make this a get request. Okay, so why is it? Okay, so sorry, this is supposed to be get. And if I make that request, it would, okay, products, right? If I make that request, we see an empty array. Now, look at this. I'm just saving an empty array. Each time I make a change to this server, and this server restarts, the list of products will be turned back to the list of products will be turned back, like would be cleared, so it will be empty again, right? So we've done, right, one route to get products. Let's do another route to add products. So I'll just say server.post, right, and I'll just say /product. So this would be REQ, RES, request response. And then to add a product, I'll need to send that product details, right? So I'll then say, so how do I access values from that product? I could say products details should be equals to req.body. Now, when a request body is sent, right, from front end to back end, right, that request body is in the request object, but is in the body property. So I'm just saying req.body. There's req.params, there's req.query for queries and all this stuff. We are going to see how we can use them. So what I would want to do here is I can use a library called UUID to create unique IDs for a product. Okay, so let's see if I already have that library in here. Nope, I don't have it. So I could do this. I could say npm. Now, what I'm just trying to do now is I want to be able to generate random unique IDs for each product I'm adding. So npm install UUID. So UUID just means your universal unique identifier. Okay, so I've installed that. I can come here and say const UUID. I could just call it UUID. Should be equals to require UUID. Right, and here I could then say const UUID should be equals to okay, I could say unique. No, let me call it ID. ID should be equals to UID.v4. There are different versions of unique ID, but I'll choose v4. Then something else I can actually do now is adding it to the products. So can someone remind me about how we said we can add things to an array? What's the command to use to add to an array? Someone should try. He said, okay, push, right? So let's just say that our products will have a name, a price. Let's just say name and price. So I could then say products.push, and I would say products. I'll just say product. Let me just say name. Name should be product detail.name. Price should be product details.price. And then the ID of that product is going to be ID. Of course, this ID is the same thing as me saying ID should be ID, but there's no need for me saying ID and ID again. I could just write it once, and JavaScript will understand that the key is also the name used for the key is the name used for the value also. Okay, then after that, I can res.send product added successfully. Okay, so let me reduce this a bit. Okay, so we've created two endpoints. One to just send us a list of products, and this other one to add a product. And our products will always have a name and a price. Then the back end in this case is the one generating the ID for the products. So let's test what we've done so far. So we have the get for products. Let me copy this and paste. Now, if you have multiple requests, right? Now, if you look, only this one is having send requests. And even if you try to send this request, it will have okay, it's going to return what you need, right? But how do we make this one have its own send request so that we can click on it? Now, what you just need to do is you just have to have 3 hash symbol there. So 3 hash symbol is used to separate a request from another request. So here I can have posts here, post to products, and then of course the content type. Remember that each time you're sending data to the backend, you have to tell it its content type. So I'll use application/JSON, right? Then I'll say the name of the product. The name of the product is glass cup. The price. The price would be 5,000 naira. And then I send that request. You see, product added successfully. If I send a GET request now, what do we see, guys? So we see a product with an ID, a long ID, with a name, glass cup, and with a price of 5,000 naira. I can decide to add another product, maybe a chair. A chair of 8,000 naira. Post products added successfully. I can come back and query all the products. So we see that we have two products, right? We have a glass cup and we have a chair, right? Now, since this product we've added is stored in memory, if this server restarts or this server crashed and started again, right? All we've done, like those products we've added, will be cleared out, and the array of products will be empty. Now, that is the reason we have what is called a database, right? So a database is going to permanently store your records, right? Or the information is sent to it. Even if your server goes bad or you decide to change server or do anything, what is on the database except you delete it. So this, we can also do something. Let's create a route to get products. So if we say server.get, right? It's still going to be a get, but we want to get a single product. I want to get a product by the product ID. So I'll just say products/ID. Then here we would have REQ, RES, request and response. So we'll then say, now, look, this is a parameter, right? This is a parameter in this request, or in this request URL, right? Or in this request route or path. So how do we get this ID? We'll say const products ID should be equals to req.params.id. Now, notice they have to be the same. If they are not the same, it might not work out. Then what we have to do here is we can say product details should be equals to products, which is the products array dot find. And remember, I'm using find because no two products should have the same ID, right? No two products should have the same ID. So that's why I'm using find. So I can then say product.find where products, where the product ID, is equals to product ID. So what I'm simply saying here is go through the list of products and check each of the IDs of the products. Return the first occurrence of the product where the ID of the product is the ID that is required. Okay? So doing that is going to, now all I just need to do is I just need to res.send I'll just say product details looking for. So let's test all we've done now, shall we? So if I come back here and send that request, you see it's empty. Remember what I said? When once the your API restarts, right? Everything is cleared out. So let me add a chair. I've added a chair successfully. If I send a request to get that product, right? Or the list of all the products, right? So we see the list. I can decide to add another thing, maybe phone, I don't know, router, maybe router can be like 12,000. Add it, I can get all, right? I can get all. Now, how do I get a single product by its ID? So that means I need to create another route. So I'd say triple hash, then I'd say I need a get request to HTTPS 3000/product/ the ID of that product. So let's say I want to get this chair, right? I want to get more details of the chair. I would say /product/ the ID, right, of that product. I would send that request, and you see it's only returning that first instance of that product. So with the ID, the name, and the price. Okay, then let's look at how to delete, right, from that. Okay, let's look at how to update, right? Update let's say we can update name and price because the ID shouldn't really change, right? We should allow the user to, we should create a route to allow the user to update the name, right, and the price of any property there. I hope you guys are following. Is there anybody that is not following what I'm doing? Anybody? Okay. And silence, comprehend the F. Nobody's saying anything. I assume you guys are following. All right. So what we'll just do now is we'll say server dot put, right? So for me, right, yesterday I had an argument with someone that put, which the person is right though, that put is used when you're changing all the informations on your database, while patch is used to change a specific information, right? Which is correct. But then also it depends on you. If you want to design your API like that, it's fine. You can actually do it, but I don't care. So I would want to allow a user to edit a particular information, right? So I would use put, right? But I don't want him to edit the name and the price. So doing that, I'll just still go on. I would say REQ, RES, request and response. Then what do I need to do here? What I need to do here is I'll find that product. I'll say for, okay, first, wait. I'll say const products. I know somebody in this call is saying, I can destructure these things and use. Why is it that I'm not destructuring it? No, there are people that might not really be familiar with destructuring. We are going to go into destructuring the area. I know someone might have that in his mind. So we have products, let's just say new product details or updated product details should be equals to REQ dot body. Of course, we know that this REQ just means request, right? I could name it request fully, but I just like using REQ. RES, I could name it response, but I'm just naming it RES. I can name it anything. It's actually a variable, right? Then Down here, I can say for, okay, I don't know why I'm itching to use the for. I could say const product ID should be equals to req.params.product ID. Sorry, req.params.id. Yep, and then I'll say for let I equals to 0, I should be less than products.length I plus plus. Then down here to edit a product, I can say if the products at I, right, dot ID is equals to the product ID, then that is, so if that occurs, it means that's the product I'm actually looking for. So I would want to update that product detail. So I'll then say, so if it's that one, I would say product I dot name should be equals to updated product details dot name, and product ID dot, is it costs or price, sorry, should be equals to updated product details dot price, and I'll then say res dot send product updated successfully. Then I think I should just do the delete at once so that we'll test it. So if I want to do delete, I'll say server.delete. And of course, the delete will still have this same format. So I can just copy and paste. In fact, one other thing you need to know about programming is 70% copying and pasting and 30% knowing what you're doing. So that's it. Okay, then we have this. I can just also copy this product ID because I'll still use it here. Then the simplest way of deleting is we can say that the product should be equals to the products dot filter. So this is why you have to be very conversant with your JavaScript. You need to understand JavaScript because that thing, what's all this filter, find, map, all those things we've done before, right? It might just be reasoning, but this is not backend, this is not backend, but it's what you will definitely write on your back end when you get a job, right? Or even when they want to interview you, they want to ask you questions, right? They are going to oftentimes go to the basics or even take you through data structure and algorithm. You must do this, do that, sort this, find that, there are different questions that can come up, right? You must be very good at the basics of JavaScript, right? To be able to also still be relevant as a backend developer. So I would say product details, right? I want to send products. What I'm doing, I want to filter that particular product. So I'll say products, where the products, where that product dot ID is not equals to the product ID. So what I'm simply saying here is I'm reassigning the products after removing it. After removing the product, you see I should delete. So filter. So while the product ID is not equals to the one I'm trying to delete, save it. If it is equals to the one I am trying to delete, then don't choose it. Then at the end of the day, these products, what would have returned to products, right, would be wait, is products. So let me see, am I allowed to reassign? I would have an issue here because product is assigned as a constant. So I would say let products to be on the safe side. So you can pull from products and the rest, but reassigning to products, since it's a constant, it's going to give you issue. So I just remembered. Okay, so let's try. Let me get products. Of course, I don't have any products. Let me add a single product. Let me add router. Let me add Android wristwatch. Obviously, okay, yeah, I'm not lying. They are wristwatch that are expensive. So we have a router and an Android wristwatch. I can decide to view only details of the Android wristwatch, right? So that will mean me coming here. I'll say I want to view a single detail. I'll paste that in there and send that request. Of course, we just have just one Android wristwatch. Then I want to change details of that Android wristwatch. So I want to change the name and the price, right? So I'll just simply copy this. Let me remove that. I'll just simply copy that request and I'll say put. Remember, we'll need to add the content type. The content type is application/JSON. We'll then say that the name should be Android wristwatch updated. The price should be 80,000. Sorry. The price should be 80,000. And of course, I send that put request. Now, if I send the get request to get that particular Android wristwatch, you see it's updated. Android wristwatch updated. If I come here to get all products, right? You'll see that we have the router and we have Android wristwatch updated. Then of course, I can decide to delete the Android wristwatch. So I can create a delete request. And of course, I just need to copy this and change the method to delete. So I'll just copy this, paste here, change the method to delete. So if I do that, delete. Okay, and I did not give a response after deleting. So this is going to run till infinity, except I cancel it. So I could say res.send and record deleted. So let's go back. This would mean we're starting from scratch again. So I would get there's nothing there. I would add a new one, get again. Of course, we have an Android wristwatch. House. Maybe house can be like, how much days to sell house now? Anybody? Give me a price. Nobody knows how much they sell house. Nobody has bought house.
1
One what?
180 M.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whatever. So I've added that. We have the house and we have the Android wristwatch. Of course, I might want to view only details of that house. Sorry. So I could decide to add another house to make it 3. So I might want to change properties of that particular house, this particular one. I might want to reduce the price. So for me to reduce the price, I'll just copy the ID because I need that ID. I'll just come here and I'll just write put and then here I could change it to 120,000. No, 120 million. Then million naira, then I would say house updated. Yeah, updated successfully. I can come back and get, and yeah, house updated. And I can delete that house if I don't want it again. I can delete that record. So I can copy this and come back here and paste it. And of course, send a request to delete. Record deleted. Of course, if we come here and we query, we should only see our Android wristwatch and our house. I would like to also delete this other one. Let me just only have an Android wristwatch. Yeah. So that's me somehow placing the value of Android wristwatch more than the house. Okay, so I'm left with just an Android wristwatch. Okay, so we've successfully done a little bit of CRUD operation with just using an array, right? And this should explain what you should do in your assignment, right? Now, let's try CRUD operation using a real database like MongoDB. Shall we?
Yes.
Okay, so let me check. We are plenty in this class, and it's just one person that is giving me feedback. If I was with Cain, right, I'd have done like how Jesus did in the Bible, entering the market and flogging everybody.
My boss no be like that though.
Okay,
Because,
okay.
some of us that start from the beginning, all this adding, doing this at the same time is like confusing us. So you're just taking our time.
Okay,
To look at the
yes,
board.
I totally understand that. So this is the thing, right? You just need to re-watch this video, rewatch it, watch it, rewatch it. So at a point, you would understand these things are just basic stuff we've been using, right? If you check, this is just a simple function. This is just a function. Remember when I talked about callback functions that you can pass a parameter to, you can pass a function to another function as a parameter, right? So this delete is a function somewhere, right? But delete is a function that comes with express, right? But now in this delete function, we are passing a string, right? And we are also passing a function to this delete function. If you remember when I talked about callback function, remember that I said that you can pass a function to another function, right? And you can pass extra properties apart from that function, right? So this is still basic JavaScript. It's still basic JavaScript. It's just that, right? I'm using a library that has some extra features, but whatever I'm writing inside here is still just basic JavaScript. Okay, so Gertrude, you wanted to say something. Your hand was up before.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay, all right. So no issues. So I'm not going to do like Jesus Christ and cut skin and enter everybody's place. But then let's continue. Let's see how we can actually use something like MongoDB, right? Now, let me do a little bit of explanation. MongoDB is a database, right? We can't just, our backend can't just start communicating with MongoDB just like that, okay? There have to be an ODM, right? Or let's just make it simple. There have to be a package that MongoDB or someone out there wrote to say, if you want to connect with MongoDB from Express or from your backend, you have to install this package, and this package is what you would use to communicate to MongoDB so that it will make it simple for you to communicate between your backend and your database. So this is the thing. Your database runs on a different port on its own, okay? Your API, right? Now, this our API runs on what ports? Who can tell me what ports are this particular one we've written is running on? Someone should try. Nobody?
3,000.
3,000. It's even on the screen here. See it here. The port is listening on 3,000. Now, if you install something like, if you install SQL, right? SQL, let's say Postgres, right? Or MySQL, right? It would come naturally with its own port that it would be listening for requests, right? Now, funny thing, all this MongoDB, your backend, MySQL, Postgres, all of them will run on localhost. The only thing that is different, that's if they are running on your system, right? But the only thing different is the port, right? Like MongoDB's port is 27017, right? So if I'm using MongoDB and I'm writing an API to work with MongoDB and I want to test it offline, first I'll need to install MongoDB, right? So I think that should be where we should start from, right? We should install MongoDB. We should see how we can actually install MongoDB. So if I said MongoDB install download. Okay, so there's this thing that's usually confusing. There is MongoDB server. There is MongoDB Compass. There's MongoDB Atlas. Now, if you're trying to install MongoDB, you might come across this and you'll be like, which one should I even install? Now, MongoDB Atlas is just MongoDB that is running on the internet, that's running online. You can connect your back end, right, to MongoDB Atlas. So MongoDB Atlas is the MongoDB, right? That's the MongoDB server that's running online. So to create a MongoDB Atlas server, right, that you're going to use, you need to have a MongoDB Atlas or a Mongo Atlas account, right? And then from there you can log in and then set up whatever you want to set up. But if you want to use MongoDB offline, you download the MongoDB community server. Right, so the community server is just simply a server that you can install on your system and use to do your MongoDB development. So of course you can choose the platform.
But
Is it
which
Amazon?
one is better? Is it the Atlas or the one we download?
Okay, so this is the thing. It depends on you. If you have enough data, right? Data is not your problem, and you want to connect your API, right, that you're running on your system to MongoDB online, right? You can do it. The only downside is that for each time you're testing, each information you're sending, of course, a little bit of data will be spent on your side because you're making a request to the database that's running online, which is MongoDB Atlas. But if you have the MongoDB on your system, right, which means you can do your whole testing without needing to connect to the internet. So that's the difference, right? That's the difference between both of them. So if you come here, you choose your version. Of course, always go for then the platform. So what platform do you want to install the community server? So you would definitely choose Windows x64, right? All these ones are for the Linux guys like me. And most of you don't want to be like me, the Linux guy. You want to remain in Windows. It's fine, it's fine. So you can choose Windows and then of course, just choose the server. Don't worry about Mongoose or tar.gz, just choose server. And then when you're done, you just click download. So once you download that, you'll be able to
Hello, sir.
you have the installation. Okay.
On Windows, there's no server. I'm checking my laptop. It's MSI and zip that is there.
MSI.
Yes, and zip. That's when you
Yeah,
choose
okay.
Windows.
Okay, if you choose that, download the MSI. Yes, download the MSI. Not zip. Download the MSI. Okay, so when you choose that, you download the MSI. Let me click on the download. Although I'm not using Windows, let me just see what is going to pop up. Okay, so it's saying MongoDB Windows x64, x68, 64, 64-7.0.11-sign.msi. Yes, .msi. Download it. It's going to work. Believe me, it's going to work. Okay, so that's by the way, right? So after downloading it, you will install. Now, this is the funny thing. After installing it, right? Yeah, you still have two ways to go, right? Is either you start learning the commands to use to manipulate the database, that's to add, to delete, and the rest. Or you can choose the simpler route. Now, after downloading Mongo Community Server, the next thing you should go to download is Mongo Compass. So Mongo Compass is a GUI, right? It's a GUI application that enables you interact with the database using graphics. So instead of you typing a command on your terminal to connect to the database, typing another command to try to view the records of a database and all this stuff and all these things. Instead of that, wouldn't it be nice to have an application, right, that you can just use to maybe change things, right? Or view the database documents and everything easily. Wouldn't that be nice? It would be nice. Even if you're not thinking it would be nice, it would be nice. Right. So after downloading the server, the next thing you need to just do is you can just if we go back here, right? In fact, let's go back. So Kubernetes guys are those cloud guys, people that want to set up this is mostly DevOps stuff, right? Having a container and having MongoDB running on that container, or having a container that is dedicated for MongoDB, I guess. So I'm clicking back and it's just turning me through circles. Okay, so if I do Mongo Compass, so now I'm saying MongoDB or Mongo Compass, anyone. So if I search it MongoDB Compass or Mongo Compass, we would see Mongo Compass. Bagan, bagan, bagan. So if we click here, you see Compass, the GUI for MongoDB. So you can click to download now or read the docs, but definitely download now. So downloading here, you after downloading, you'd install on your end, you'd see how you can do different things, right? Do a lot of, you can connect to your database, you can do all sorts of things, right? So we would soon start using this tool heavily, right? Like our life depends on it, but our life don't depend on it. But we are going to use it. Okay, so for people that now, of course, definitely whether you like it or not, yeah, after downloading all these things, you will use MongoDB at last, and I'll tell you why. When you want to deploy your Mongo data, when you want to deploy your backend on the internet, right? When you want to deploy it, definitely you would need a database running online. Okay, Celestine, you raised your hand. What do you want? Yeah.
Is MongoDB something you mentioned now, offline, which we were trying to upload and download that time. Now you mentioned Compass. Which one are we really going to use now? Is it offline or Compass?
Download the two. And I just mentioned the difference between both of
Okay,
them.
the two.
Yes. Now, you can do without Compass, but that's if you want to be writing. So if let me think of an analogy. Let me think of an analogy to use to explain the difference between MongoDB server and MongoDB Compass. So I'm thinking, okay, imagine, right, that your Windows, right, had Windows GUI and then Windows Terminal, right? Or let's say the Windows core operating system and then the Windows GUI, and then you have to download separately. And then if you download Windows GUI, sorry, if you download Windows server, right, for your Windows PC, right, you can only write commands to do whatever you want to do, whether you want to browse on the internet or you want to do them. But if you want the user interface, the beautiful user interface, you now have to download and install maybe Windows GUI. I'm just using that for an example. Then downloading Windows GUI, you now have your Explorer, you now have the place you can click, double click, and all those stuff, right? That's the same way. That's the same way with MongoDB server and then MongoDB Compass. MongoDB server is what actually does the saving of your data, everything that has to do with database manipulation on MongoDB is the server that does it. Now, you would want to see, right? Or let's say when you want to read information from your database, right? You would want to do that, but maybe not using a terminal to try and read those information. You want to read it maybe using a GUI, right? Or using a GUI, using an app, right? Let me show you how Mongo Compass looks. So let me just open it up for you guys to see, because I think that's where it will get simpler to try and explain it to you. So MongoDB Compass is coming up. Okay, ask your question.
Does like the Compass depend on the other one?
Exactly. MongoDB Compass depends on MongoDB server. So if you have MongoDB Compass and you don't have the server, then there's no, you can't connect to anything because there's no server there. Okay. So, but MongoDB server is standalone. It doesn't depend on anything. So let me reshare my screen and show you guys MongoDB Compass. So let me share it. So this is how MongoDB Compass looks like. These are the list of databases I've connected to, right? I want to connect to my local database, which is on my system. So if I just click, so remember what I told you, MongoDB is also running on localhost. Personally, I've installed MongoDB already. I've been using this for like how many years? This should be like 4 years I've been using MongoDB. Right, so I click connect, and the next thing you're going to see is I've connected to my database. Now, all these things I'm doing here, right? I can do, it's possible to do it using CLI, that's using my terminal, right? But I don't want to go through the stress of typing a command to connect to the server, type a command to show me a list of database, type a command to connect to a particular database, then type a command to see the list of tables. So this Mongo Compass helps me do everything using the GUI. So if I want to expand any of these are databases. If I want to expand any database, right? I don't need to, for example, I want to expand Note API test. I'll just come and click here to expand it. And I can go to users and see the list of users I have for that database. So this is the database, right? The database, this is the name of the database, and this is the collections under that database. So let me explain something in Mongo to you. Databases, right, have collections. So let's take, for example, I create a database named CodeCamp. CodeCamp can be a database that has a collection of users, have a collection of tasks, have a collection of students, and other things, right? So each of those things. So now the tax collection is like a table that contains documents, right? So the tax collection can contain details of each task. So now, for example, we have Note API tests, right, which is a database name. It has a collection of users here, right? And then if, as I've clicked on that collection of users, we now see it showing us a list of all the users. So we don't have only one user. So this is the record, right, for that one user. If we had 5 users, it would have shown us the record of those 5 users. Okay. So that's how databases work. You have a database, the database has a table or a collection, right? So this is one thing. In MongoDB, right, we call the tables collections. Meanwhile, if you're using something like SQL or Postgres, they are called tables, right? But here we call them collections. Now, each of the entity you find inside this table, right, or this collection in MongoDB, each of these are called documents. These are called documents. But if we're using something like MySQL, we would call this a record. So this is a record, but here we call it a document, right? So there's no real, you can just say this is just a table and this is a record, or you can say this is a collection and then this is a document in that collection. So that's how it works. Do you guys have any question? No question. So everybody's following.
Yeah, walking us through installing this stuff in Mongo.
Okay. So you guys are installing it, right?
No, I mean if you walk us through installing it.
Oh, to walk you guys through installing Mongo database. Okay. All right, so I already have it installed. So I to uninstall it and install it. And another thing is I'm using Linux. So if I'm installing it on Linux, right, I don't need to download anything. There's a command okay, I think I'll download. But when I installed mine, right, there was a set of commands I needed to run to actually install it. I didn't need to download anything. So for the most part, right, on your end, what you just need to do is double click on the mongodb.msi and then just be clicking next till it finishes installing. So if you do that, I think it might ask you to restart or not. I'm not sure, but if you do that till the end,
It got
does it
to a
ask you to
point.
restart?
No, it got to a point where it's asking install MongoDB as a service. Like there are two options. Is either a network service user or local or domain
Yeah,
service.
install as local, not network.
Then it asks us for account name, account domain, account password.
Account what?
Account domain, account name, account password.
If you're installing as local.
Yes.
Okay, so let me see. Let's see. Waiting. Okay. Okay, so can you share your screen? I think I should give you the access to. Where is he? Precious, can you share your screen? Should I make you? Can I make you share your screen?
Yes, but let me switch them to my laptop. I was using my phone.
Okay, we're using your phone.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
who else is having the same issue that Precious is having, and the person is on a laptop? Any other person?
So I've switched it to my laptop now.
Okay, you switched to your laptop.
Yes. So should I still share the screen? Can I share it?
Yes, I've given
I
you the
cannot.
permission. Yeah, I've given you the permission to share. Wait, let me stop sharing mine. All right, you can share yours now.
Okay. So this is where I am currently. After downloading the MongoDB.
Okay, just click next.
I've not filled anything here. Account name, domain, password. This one came by default, this MongoDB.
Okay, the account domain call. Did it come by like that?
There's nothing there. I've not done anything on it.
Okay, it came like this.
Yes, it
And
came
just
like
click
this.
next. Just click next.
So the domain is an password incorrect. So I guess I have to fill in domain name or something.
Okay, wait, just click next again. Let me see that what came up.
Yeah, I think it said if you put a dot.
data.
Yeah, just click next. Let me see. Remember to use dot for domain name if the account is on local machine. Yeah, okay, return. You're using, yeah, put the dot. Then let's say, click on next first. Okay, it's saying you must put username and password. Okay, so return.
I feel it should be its own personal
Yeah, you
stuff.
should just put a password that you remember.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Next. Okay, wait.
You have not put your username.
Wait, return. Click on return. Go and uncheck that install MongoDB as a service. Click on next. What's going on?
Are you sure there was no column for registration? Because I think you have to register before you have all this.
On MongoDB website.
Again, let him start from the beginning. Since he
Yeah,
has
okay,
shared
start from
his
the beginning. True. Just back. Click back till
Let me
you're not
show
sharing
you.
your screen again.
It's in
See your
disconnected.
screen.
Okay, so
Okay.
this is it has gone again. I'm not sure again. So this is the after the installation.
Yeah, next.
Then next. If I click next, it will go off.
Wow. Okay, can you share your entire screen instead?
Okay, let me see. Oh, okay. Yeah. So can you see it now?
Okay. Yeah.
So
Complete.
then next, back to this screen again.
Ah, I haven't encountered this screen.
Sorry, let him put his name in that account.
Okay, put your name in the account name. No, account name. No,
That
not
is this.
domain. No, not domain name.
Allow
Account.
the
Okay.
dot to be there.
Okay.
But is it mandatory if we just keep the account name and password empty? Wait, remove the account name and password first. Let me just remove it. Then click next. Let me see.
Oh, it works.
Yeah. So what's the end of putting username and password? Okay, so what happened?
I don't
Yes.
know. I'm looking for what happened. It just went off. Maybe it has installed or something.
Okay, so just double click on the MongoDB Windows.msi again. Let's see. Double click on it. Run. Yeah, next. Wait, because of an error, your system has not been modified. Your system has not, okay, to install this program later. Okay, so it's mandatory for you to put in your username and password. Okay, so let's do it again. Put in a username and your password.
Okay. Domain username password incorrect.
I think you can just search Google, copy and paste the message you get there and search Google at least. I think you should see an article on Stack Overflow or something like that.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
I think they actually on that page where it said that mongodb.com blah blah blah, they wrote like handouts on how to install it and all that. Like I'm going through it now. From that place where it's then installing from, like it's there, and this whole issue is there. So
Is that so? Okay, I'm heading over there. Okay.
Yes.
Are you still sharing your screen?
No,
Hmm?
no, not yet. Okay, I'm sure.
Mhm.
Where is the installation? Which side?
Oh, we are not on the same page. What I have here is .com/docs/manual/tutorial/install on Windows. It's kind of
Please,
on the same page, but I don't understand. It's on install on Windows. That installation, under installation, then
please,
install on Windows.
sorry, can someone who is on a computer and window just start from afresh? From MongoDB, safer, you click everything so that we will not waste our time. Let's just start from afresh as if you are entering it newly.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we did now.
Yeah.
After downloading it.
So, okay.
The best thing actually, just copy and paste that error on Google, and I'm very sure you get an answer.
No, I won't copy. That's it.
Okay, so let's do it this way, right? We'll resolve this after the class. Let's say after the class, like when the recording is ended, right? We then resolve it.
Okay.
Let the record continue in case somebody wants to.
Okay, in case someone wants to install it, right?
Like me, I'm not with a laptop now. Where I am, I'm using phone. So in case I want to download and encounter the same problem, I will be
Okay.
able to follow.
Promise, share your screen again.
Okay.
I
Precious.
think we can always resolve this on Discord because this is wasting our time.
Fine.
Okay.
Discourse conversation is always dull. Oh. I have to be frank.
Wait, promise, just share your screen first. It won't take time. If I try to resolve it this time and we can't, then we'll take it to Discord. Just share your screen. Promise, Ikwa.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's the share again, sir. Okay, I'm sharing now.
Okay, so go back to that installation. Wait, the domain or username password is incorrect. Okay, use this for the domain if the account is on local machine. Okay, you don't have any accounts. Just click return. So I don't even want I don't want us to run it. Okay, see, come and click on this run service network as this service network user or something.
This one.
Then click next. Let me see what it will show. By checking this computer latest okay, you can click next. Click install. Okay, so I think this is going to install MongoDB, and since he checked the that button to install MongoDB Compass also, it will also install MongoDB Compass. So I think that's just what we needed to do. So you can stop sharing your screen. Thank you very much, and then let's continue. Okay, so that's what I think that's what everybody needs to do, basically. Okay. So let's continue. Let me share my screen again, and we'll go on from there. Now, we want to, I hope you guys can see my screen, right? You guys can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll just delete all these things I wrote, and I'll show you guys how to set up MongoDB. So now we are using MongoDB. I remember that I said that there's something there's a package we need to use to connect to MongoDB from our Express server. And the name of that package is Mongoose. So we need to install it. So say npm install Mongoose, and we'll just do that. So sorry, I took me some time to figure that stuff out, right? The database stuff out. It's in the last time I used Windows was 2019. So since 2019, 2020-ish till now, I've been using Linux and I've been running commands to install things. So I'm not used to that box where you click next anymore. So it looked somehow, should I say, new or strange to me. So let's go on. So we've installed Mongoose, right? Mongoose is just a tool to help us connect with the database and communicate with the database. So what do I need to do now? I need to now set up Mongoose, because ordinarily installing Mongoose, right? I've not told Mongoose, this is the database you need to connect to, this is how you need to connect to it and communicate with it. So that's what I have to do now. So I'll come here and I'll say const Mongoose should be equals to require, and of course I want to require Mongoose. Okay, and what I just need to do now is I'll say let's just say const, let me use this way, const connection should be equals to mongoose.connect, and mongoose.connect, what I need to pass here is, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to connect this to the database now. So I'll pass in a URL to connect to. So the URL would be mongodb colon with double / then I would say localhost at 27017. Now, after this, I will need to put in the name of the database I want to connect to. So if the database doesn't exist, it will automatically be created. So I can say / CodeCamp. I'll just say CodeCamp 4. I'll just call it CodeCamp 4. Now, how do I even know if this has connected successfully? I'll then say connection.then. So then is going to run if my connection was successful. So I could just say console.log connected successfully. And then I could say dot catch. So catch is going to catch is going to run if there is an error. So I'll pass an error here So if there's an error, I'll then say console.log I'll say an error occurred while trying to connect. Then I could say error. The error is going to be the error encountered. So doing that, let's go back to our terminal and let's see. Okay, server is up, connected successfully. Can you guys see that? So I could say, I could make it more descriptive, connected successfully to MongoDB. So if there was an error, right? Maybe the connection wasn't successful, it would have given an error. So let me do something to make it break. Let me remove one here. It's trying to connect to the database. It's trying. It can't connect to the database. That's why it's not doing anything. It's supposed to show the error, but I think it's just retrying to connect. So let me give it a real error. Let me just remove the DB there and just say Mongo. Yeah, so it gives an error. It's saying an error while trying to connect. Invalid scheme expected that the connection string should start with MongoDB with a colon and double slash or MongoDB SRV, but we're just writing Mongo. So it's supposed to be MongoDB, then like that. So it has connected successfully. Now, with this connection, right, what we need to do next is we can create a schema for our database. So what is a schema, right? A schema is, or let's just say a model, right? What is this model or schema? So the schema is like an architecture, a guide to how you can add or remove data from that database. So let's do that. We can create in another folder here, model. I could just call it a model or a schema folder. And then inside this model folder, I can create what is called, I can create,
Hello?
Is anybody trying to ask a question or say something? We can create a
Yes, sir.
model and then inside here, we can call it products.
Hello, can you hear me?
Products.js. Yeah, I can hear you.
So I want to ask that go back to that your screen, the other one I was showing. This MongoDB connect localhost. Before you can connect, that means you must have created it somewhere now. Maybe your MongoDB is hosted somewhere on your laptop.
Yes, definitely. That's why I said you should install MongoDB. MongoDB server. Yes. If you don't have MongoDB server running and you try to do this, it will not connect.
Okay, I get.
Yes. So I've done this. Now, what do I need to do next? I think I should just create the schema here. I shouldn't. Let me just do everything in one file. But the only thing is doing it in one file would make this file too much. We have too much of details. So I could say, okay, we already have mongoose there. I could say, let me create one under here. So I could say, product schema. No need for me to create this, right? Later on, I'll show you guys how you can split your code into different folders, right? But let me just do everything here. I'll just say product schema. Product schema should be equals to mongoose.schema. But this is a class, so I'll say new mongoose schema. Then in here, I can then have my schema set up there. So I can say the product name should be a type of string, and required true. Then we would say the product price should be a type of number, and this is also required. So what I've done here is I've created a schema, right? That, okay, the product schema. So this product schema, anytime I want to add a new product, right, or edit a product, it's always check if the product name is a string and a product price is a number, right? And if I try to just maybe if I try to create a product, right, without, let's say I try to create a product only with trying to supply the product name without supplying the product price, it's this schema, right, will prevent that product from being created, because the product name is required, the product price is required also. So after creating this schema, I need to create a model from this schema. So the model is responsible for keeping the model name, right? Keeping the name of, sorry, the name of that table, and everything that has to do with adding that product to that table. So this schema here is just used for validation before it's being added to the table. So I could do something like this. I can say const product collection. Product collection should be equals to mongoose.model. And then the model accepts a name and a schema. So the name of the model would actually be the name of the collection. So I could call this products. It's always going to be in plural, while the schema is going to be this product schema. So I would say comma product schema. Okay, so I've created that schema. The next thing I can do is I can then start writing endpoints, right, to add or delete products and do the rest of those things. So for me to add a product, right, let me create an endpoint. So I'd say server.post to add a product. Of course, this would still be /product. It will still be the same as before, with a request and a response. Then here, what do? We say /product. What do we add here? We then say products details is equals to req.body. Then in here, how do we add a new product? We would say product collection dot create. Then this create now, right, is going to create that product. So then we'll say the product name should be the product details dot product name. Then the product price is going to be the product, product details dot product price. So what I'm saying is the name on the product name that will be created on the database is what is sent, the objects that I send, all right, which I am saving as product details and the product name in there. Then I can get a list of products, all the products. I could say server, okay. Then here I could do something like this. Okay, we didn't talk about async await. I'll talk about this in one of our classes. So await. I'll talk about why we need async await. And okay, we'll talk about promises, right? In one of our classes, then we'll see why we need async await here. Then we would say res.send. I could say product created successfully. So let me see why this server is crashing. It's saying SER is not defined in line 48. Okay, server.get. So I want to get all the products. So I'd say products. Then here I'll say REQ, RES. Then I want to get all the products. So what do I do? I'd say products should be equals to, and let's just use async await for now. I'll explain why. Product is equals to await products collection dot find, and we don't want to declare any criteria to find, so I'll pass an empty object there. So let's test what we've done. So I can just say res.send products. So if we do that and we come here, we want to add products. Okay, so now this will change from being products name, from being named to product name, and then this price will change to being product price. So first, let me run this to show you. It still shows an empty array, right? An empty array, which is an empty list of products. Let me add a product. Product created successfully. Sorry, this is a typo. If I come back here and I click send, what do we see? We see ID, product name, product price. Let me show you something, because an ID is automatically created, right? But I want to also add a created at and an updated at date as I'm creating that product. So let's come back here. I want to add what is called a timestamp. It's very important. Each time you're going to work with creating products, you always need a timestamp. So you now say, after that comma there, you can say timestamps should be true. What you're saying here is each time you create or you update a product, right, that the timestamp should be updated. So if I come back here, let me create another product. So I do that, products created successfully. If I come back here and I check my list of products, the new product I have just created has a created at and an updated at time automatically put for it. So this one I did before doesn't have it. So, but it's not a problem. Let's just leave it. Now, let's see. I want to be able to get a product by its ID. So let's create that route to get a product by its ID. We'll come here. Sorry? Someone trying to say something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed something changed when you made
Okay,
the product. The ID is now underscore ID and is quite different from what it was before. That UUID
okay.
that we use.
Okay, look at this. Let me make the request again to get all products. Okay, now You're talking about this underscore ID, right?
Yes, yes. It's now
Okay,
different.
if you look, we only added a product name and a product price. We didn't add an ID. Now, by default, right? In fact, every standard database must always have an ID for every record it creates. It's by default. If you have, if you're using MySQL, you would say the ID is int auto increment, but in MongoDB, it's not necessary. You don't need to tell it that it should create an ID. It will automatically create an ID for you. So this ID here you're seeing is coming from the database. Do you get?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So even if I create a third one, if I create a third house, right, it's going to come with its own ID. And even if so you see, I created the house twice, but it comes with its own unique ID. So the ID is unique. So no two records on the same table can have the same ID. Understood? So let's see.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
What if we want to assign our own ID?
Is it?
What if we want to assign the ID to a particular product we are doing? Assign personal product, not a default ID.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that on MongoDB. I'm not sure about that. I've not tried assigning a unique ID to a product. But why would you want to do that? Why would you want to assign a unique ID to a product?
I'm just asking.
Okay.
You know, in case
I'm not
supermarkets
sure.
have their IDs on product. We just
Yeah, I'm
assign
not
personal
sure that is allowed because first of all, look at this. This is not just an ordinary ID. This is okay, see, look, even if you want to assign your own ID, right? That won't stop the database from creating its own ID. Do you understand? So I can decide that once I'm creating a product, right? That I want to have my own field called ID, and I want to assign it to an ID, maybe an ID I create on the back end. That is up to me, but that won't stop the database, right? That won't stop the MongoDB from creating its own ID for that record. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, I understand.
Yes, so you can decide to have your own ID, right? I can decide to do it. I can say my own maybe should be ID, then colon, then I put my ID. So this ID you're seeing here, right? I think this is hexadecimal ID also, right? This hexadecimal. So and this follows a particular order. So if you check, okay, if you check some part of this ID, right? I think up to this point or up to this point on the two are actually the same. So which means there's an order at which this thing follows, right? Which you might not really be familiar with or follow. So you can't say you should generate yours and then replace it with what the database generates. You just have to, you can do your own separately. Okay, so we've done this. Let me create a route to edit the product name and the product price. So that would be me saying server dot put, and the server dot put is going to accept product /ID. In fact, this is just similar to what I did before. Then here I would say that, then REQ, RES. Then all I need to do here is I'll say await. This await should always be used in an async function. So would say async await products collection dot find by ID and update. So find by ID and update this, find one and update. I'm going to more details about what's their difference. So the ID here is going to be the parameter ID. So I'd say req.params.id. Then what do I want to change here? Of course, I would expect that you send a request body to me. So I can just copy this product details here and paste it here. And of course, I can still copy this too. Okay, another sweet thing about programming is half copying and pasting. Okay, so look at this. We have that we are trying to update, right, using the parameter ID, but then I'm expecting a request body too that should contain the product name and the product price also. Then after that, I can then say res.send products updated successfully. Okay, now one thing, right? One thing I want to say, always send JSON back to your users. Always send an object or a JSON back so you can say message to make it easier for them. So instead of just sending a string back, just send it like this. So that they will not try to convert it to JSON and be thinking that, what is going on? Okay, so we've created to post, we've created to edit, we've created to get all products. Let me create to get a single product. So I could say server.get, and then I could say /product/ID async req res. Then in here, what do we do here? I'll just say const product should be equals to await products collection dot find by ID. And of course, the ID is going to be the ID here, which is req.params.id. Okay, so let's test what we've done so far. We've tested to get, right? Let's test to get a single product by its ID. So I want to get this second one, this second house. So I can copy its ID. I can come here and say I want to get that single product. Okay, we made a mistake there. Did we make a mistake? Okay, I didn't return anything here, so I'll just say res.send and want to send that product. Sorry, I didn't check that out. And people didn't also check it. So I can get that single product. So you see, it's sending me that single product, house, the product price, everything. I can decide to edit this product. So I'll put the ID for that product there. I'll say the product price, the product name should be house updated, and the product price should be that price there. So if I click that to send, you see products updated successfully. I can come back here and get the list of products, right? Or the list of records, right? House updated, the price has been changed. And if you look here, updated at is also changed automatically, right? It's not the same. So once we update, the database takes charge of updating the time for us, so we don't need to worry about that. Then let's look at how to delete. So if we come here, the bottom would say server.delete. Then we say product/:id async req res. Then we can say await product collection dot find by ID and delete. So finding by ID that and delete, we'll just use this ID, which is in req.params.id. Then under here, we would say res.send, and we'll see we can send a message back that the message should be delete successful or deleted successfully. All right, so if we do that, let me get that particular house. Then let me copy this ID and try to delete. So I paste that there, click delete. You'll see that deleted successfully. If we scroll up now to products and we click there to get a list of products, we see that we only have one product remaining, which is this one that didn't have the date because we deleted the other one, right? We can decide to also delete this one and empty my my shop. So I delete that one and come back here, and then I make that request, and we have an empty array sent to us. Okay, so we've been able to do CRUD operation, right, today, using an array as our database and also using MongoDB as our database. Does anybody have any question based on what we've done? Anybody?
No question. We'll go over the video so we can practice on our own. I will go over the video so I can practice on my own.
Okay, all right, no problem, fine. So I think there's one thing left, right? Sorry guys. This video is actually very long, but we'll just have to do it. So I talked about authentication, right? I think I should just talk about password encryption, and then we'll take authentication and authorization to our next class, right? So I've talked about it a bit, right? So how do we compare passwords, right? Because sorry about that. So how
Sir,
do we
please, before you continue, when do we use route?
Okay, yes. So I talked about code splitting, right? How to split code. We will definitely, I know, see, it's server, and we say const router is equals to server dot router. Abi, server dot router or some, so is it express.router? Sorry, that's a server, express.router. Yes, I know about this. There's a reason I'm putting everything on the same folder. I want you guys to see everything in one place, working one place first, and you understand how it works in one place before we start splitting the code, before we start saying router should be in routers folder, models should be in models folder, utilities should be in utils folder, all this stuff like that. We start splitting it. So that's just the reason why I've not started segmenting it into different folders. Okay, but I definitely know that we are going to do it. That is going to be a topic on its own for another day. But for now, we just need to understand how everything is working first. Okay, oh, that's fine by you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. So then what else? So let's see how we can actually hash passwords. Okay, before we even hash passwords, let's go to the database and see what is going on. Because okay, wait, before we go to the database, let me create toy car 5,000 naira. Things don't cost. Even things where we can supposed play with, they're very expensive now. Okay, so I've created that. Then let me show you guys what is going on my MongoDB. So I've created that. Let me go to Mongo Atlas. Where is it? Sorry, my Mongo Compass. That's Mongo Atlas. My Mongo Compass. We should come here. You guys can see my screen by the grace of God. What do we call that? CodeCamp, right? CodeCamp 4. So if you see that we have a database here, CodeCamp 4. And if it didn't show up here, I just need to refresh. So this button here is to refresh, right? I can add a database manually here to create a database. If we click on CodeCamp 4, we'll see products. If we click on products, we'll see the toy car that we just created. Toy car with its ID, product name, product price, the created art, and the updated art time. Okay, so if we create another thing and if we created another, maybe another record, all we just need to do is just come and click on this refresh document. So this refresh document is going to reload the document. So it will then show the updated number of documents you have. All right, so let's come back here. Let's come back to VS Code. Let me reshare my screen. Okay, so we are back here and let's see. Now, let me try to create a user, right, with a username and password, and I will hash the password. So that will require me to create a new schema, right? So let me just go down there and create the schema chart. So I could say const user schema is equals to new mongoose.schema. This schema is going to have a username, email, and password. So I could say username should have a type of string required true. I'll just copy this a couple of times. I'll change this to email. I think it should be full name instead. Full name, email, and password. Then down here, I'll just say const user collection should be equals to mongoose.model, and then here we'll just simply say the name is going to be users. The name of that table or that collection is going to be users. The schema I should use is the user schema. Then for us to hash a password, we'll need to install another library called bcrypt. So say npm install bcrypt. So bcrypt is the library to help us with hashing and comparing password. So for today, we will just hash password. So let's see, how do we use this? I could create a route for users by saying server.post, which is used to add users. So I'll just say / new user, and then I'll say req res. Then in here, I'll just say await user collection. Of course, this should be an async function. I'll say user collection. Then in here, the user should have, right? User details should be equals to req.body. So the user could have a username, email, and password. So I could say full name, or did I say username? So we have full name. I can just with that, I'll say email, password. Here would also be email, here would also be password. Then I could say response.send message user created successfully. But we've not applied bcrypt, right? So this is what I can do. I like importing at the top of my code. So I'll just come here and I'll say const bcrypt will be equals to require bcrypt. Then down here, all I just need to do is I would say, okay, I can just say const hashed password should be equals to user details dot password, but I would say bcrypt dot hash sync. So the hash sync is going to take in what I want to hash and a salt, but don't worry about the salt, just put 10 there. So this 10 is the amount of times it's going to be hashed, right? So it's hashed the first time, the result of that hash is hashed the second time, the result of the second hash is hashed the third time, and so on and so forth. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that the password, the password to save on the database should be equals to the hashed password. Simple. Now look at this. Let me come here and create that user. So let me just copy this, go to the bottom. So let me create that user. I'll say new user. So his full name can be Victor. His email can be victor@peter.com. His password can be VIC123. And then I send that request. Now it shows user created successfully. If we go back to our database, right? Let's go to our database and let's check. Let me refresh here. You see that a user's table has been created. Let me click on that user's table. And then let me refresh. Okay, so let's check the reason why that user has not been created. Let's go back to our VS Code.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the thing.
Yes,
We
sir.
didn't say, yeah?
You are using Pascal naming on server.post. And in either class 1 or 2, say Pascal naming is mostly used in CSS. That is new / user instead of dot or underscore.
Okay, now this is a string. This is a different case, okay?
Okay.
This is a string, okay? And if you're naming your route, right? You need to use, you can use, this is Cabot case actually, not Pascal case. You can use Cabot case to name them. So the user collection, this user did not create because I did not add this create sign here. So if I do that, if I click send request, it will show user created successfully. So let me reshare my screen. Let me go to MongoDB, right? And let me refresh here. Okay, so we have users. If I click on, so okay, let me refresh here. Okay, so we see we have a new user with full name, email, and password, but see what the password is showing us. It's not showing us exactly what we put in there. And that is because we hashed the password. So now hashing the password, it's only our code base, right, that can tell if the password, maybe when we try to log in, if the password we are trying to use to log in is the correct password or not. Now, hashing is important because when you're registering users on a site, right? If you're creating an API to register users on a site, it's unethical to save their password as plain text. It must always be hashed because of data integrity, right? You should not be able to read the sensitive information as passwords of your users. Even if it's your website, you're not supposed to do that. So hashing is a standard. So I guess we'll end our class here. Is there any question? Do you have any question or concern?
Yes. So how do we get back the original password? Like, let's say someone is trying to log in and then they send the a password that is test and has not been hashed. So like, how do we get back to compare
Okay.
what we have databases? Actually, the
Yeah,
same thing.
definitely. We'll do that in our next class. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we'll do it in our next class. Sure. I know that question will come up, but we'll do it in our next class.
Hello, sir. From the tax, you talked about Postman.
Yes.
How do you do that one on the task?
Okay. So, I think I showed you guys how to document on Postman once, didn't I? In one of our classes.
No.
I've not seen it.
I didn't show you guys how to use Postman to document.
No, you did not.
No.
I've not
Okay,
seen.
so this is what we'll do. You guys should do the task. On Friday, I'll show you how to document using Postman. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's
Okay. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Can we get access to your code? Like, can you push it on the public repo and then share with us?
Okay, sure. I'll do that. I'll push it on the public repository and drop the link on the group, on the Discord group or Discord channel.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other question? Okay, so in the absence of questions, we'll call it a day. Thank you very much for coming out to today's class, and
Thank
see
you so
you
much.
in the next class, which is on Friday.